This is the Tech Talent Podcast, where we interview elite high performers within the tech industry that are working day in, day out to build solutions and try and change the world. The series was built in order to give a look behind the curtain in terms of what it takes in order to be a high performer in one of the most competitive industries out there. We touch on the journeys, insights, and learnings from successful people so that hopefully you can learn from them too. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. On today's episode of the Tech Talent Podcast, I'll be speaking with Brianna Carney. Brianna co-founded Crewbloom over 7 years ago. Crewbloom is a cutting-edge staffing platform that allows business owners to streamline hiring costs whilst recruiting top-tier remote talent through a vetted pool of sales and support candidates. Brianna's here to talk all things on her background, her journey, philosophies, and insights that have allowed her to get to where she is today. So welcome, Brianna. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Cool. So why don't we start off by you explaining to the listeners what Crewbloom is, how the idea came around, and just give us a brief overview about your journey.
Yeah, of course. So, Crewbloom connects the top 2% of global professionals in a number of different categories, but predominantly sales and support folks with growing companies, typically onshore in the US. So, think of us as just like a really, really high touch Fiverr or Upwork. So, they're doing contract work on projects for clients that are growing and scaling. We fostered a human-centric culture. I think that's something that our call center competition has fallen short on. So really just trying to ensure that our folks don't hate showing up to work each day. We just believe happy folks produce better results. And yeah, that's what we're up to.
Awesome. So we mentioned in the first call that we had that you had clients logging in from over 30 countries. You were serving some super high profile brands like Pfizer and some new startups as well. And tell me a little bit about how what the first few years of the business was like and how you really got it off the ground and how you were able to really get it to where it is today, where you're serving across all of these different countries and you're signing some of these amazing logos. Talk to me.
Yeah. So I think what my co-founder and I really had a strong conviction about early on that really played to our advantage was the remote work model. So when we got started, we were positioning technical marketing efforts, so like keywords in our like kind of back end identity, aligned with something that COVID just really helped propel. So effectively, like overnight, because we had been fostering a remote work environment for 3 years at this point when COVID happened. Quite literally overnight, like our inbound applicant rates surged 10x, and that's really critical in our business because we need talent to place in roles. And so I think that really helped. Before COVID, we were spending a lot of time helping prospects overcome hesitations on remote work. And so that was really advantageous. But yeah, I guess like we like sometimes, I mean, some entrepreneurs probably don't abide by the mentality of like sometimes just like stuff just falls into place and works. You're at the right place at the right time. And I think that that was the case for us. And then just combined with my team that's brilliant and my co-founder who's, um, yeah, the peanut butter to my jelly, so to speak, we were able to wake up and do better business each day and was sustain.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I think that from a co-founder perspective, it's so important in terms of finding a co-founder that uh, plays into your strengths or has strengths in areas in which you're not as strong, for example, and like kind of having that harmony and working together. So, like in terms of the day-to-day of Crewbloom now, like what is it that you look after? What is it that your co-founder looks after, and how do you manage the workload between the two of you?
Yeah, so Kate and I do I think I mean every like I'm sure all founding teams really have their own um strategies, but for us we are both pretty invested in becoming more technical. We are both technically non-technical founders. And so because of that, overseeing the engineers is really important for us. It's just an opportunity to become more competitive and have a greater understanding of our core product and value. So we both tag team that DevOps. And then she oversees predominantly sourcing and recruiting, people ops, HR, and marketing, technical and social. And then I oversee client success, rev ops, operations, automation ops, sales ops, and sales. So it's pretty clean cut. I mean, she's just obviously in the Philippines. She's Filipina by descent. So her just having a really intrinsic understanding of that market is critical. And so, yeah, we've just done that. It's worked for us. But of course, like she's astronomically more brilliant than myself. So her insights, we both sit on the monthly stakeholder presentations, which our leadership team presents on kind of their team and their core KPIs and progress and roadblocks. But so I understand what's going on. Let's say the talent or sourcing side of the business, but day to day, I don't lead those teams.
Right. Got it. Got it. So it's a pretty like you said, like clean cut in terms of responsibilities and in terms of how you work with each other. In terms of the vision, you said that so you said to me earlier that like your vision is to just get the best people. Was that a combined vision of both you and your co-founder? Was it something that an idea that sparked from you and or was it kind of like a collaboration? Like how did the idea and the vision to get the best people and like really like solve this or solve a massive issue and help with a massive issue which is staffing and recruitment. Um, help me understand how that came about.
Yeah, so I worked previously at Amazon, and I think like a seed was planted there after I left Amazon and spent a year traveling throughout Asia. That in fact, like there's brilliant humans all over the world. And I had some just like reflections on like why was Amazon able to become the behemoth that they are? And I reckon at no point in time Jeff Bezos was like, you know what we're gonna do? Like we're gonna be all Americana, like red, white, and blue. Like all of our people are gonna just like live and work here. Um, and so I think just, yeah, like understanding the opportunity intrinsically and spending time in the markets that um, we set out to source talent and at first was really important. And I just put an ad up on Craigslist, and Kate, my co-founder, was my first hire, brought on initially just to kind of oversee operations and then just kind of prove the hypothesis that she, in fact, was so capable and brilliant. And I'm not like especially religious or spiritual. I guess like I identify as spiritual, but when I think on like my greatest blessings as a human, undoubtedly Kate comes to mind um, uh, really quickly. Just as like if there isn't a God, then how did I meet someone as capable and well suited for myself as Kate. And I think yeah, it's not like a co-founder relationship's not easy. Like we've definitely worked really hard at understanding one another, but I think she knows me better than anyone, and I think she would say the same. And it's something I'm really proud of that we've worked really hard together and built something great, and we still really respect and admire one another.
Yeah, that's amazing. Honestly, such a great story in terms of how you guys came together and how you guys work in harmony with each other. You touched briefly there on like spirituality. I remember in our first conversation you talked about like your belief in the energy and rhythm within business. Can you touch on that? Elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So I think like one of the most hardest parts about being a founder, and like one of the parts that I think really is impossible to like prepare yourself for, is how much more like exhausting and emotionally draining foundership is. Because like at no point of time can I just like hop on a call and like half-ass it, so to speak. Like I can't show up like hungover because my energy is contagious. So if I show up and I like am not super psyched or energetic about the vision and clearly able to communicate, the team suffers as a result. And so taking on like the livelihood and professional stamina and rhythm of the team is really, really challenging because we're all only human. We all go through ebbs and flows and ups and downs. Some days we wake up and we feel sharp and great. And for whatever reason, some days we don't. We had a little headache. Our moms like left us an annoying voicemail. Like there could be a number of reasons why it's just really hard to force yourself to show up and be on for each call. And so I think that when you, as a founder, can kind of like go, because like leading people is a whole nother kit kat and caboodle, but we all have like hard lessons as a founder where we have to really confront ourselves and we have to overlook our ego and really be self-aware in a way that maybe other C-suite or individual contributors don't have to be accountable for. And so I think the rhythm and flow of any organization starts with you. And so, yeah, holding yourself in your highest um, capability or your highest form is really, really important. And you'll go through ebbs and flows, and there'll be days where you really like are like, oh, we had like a huge loss, or there's something really like getting in the way. But you just have to find a way to like grin and bear it, because if not, if your team picks up on that, it can be detrimental and far more costly than just you having a bad day.
Right, right. So I mean, it's like the whole old age example of like leading by example, right? Instead of it moves away from being like a manager and really being and personifying that leadership, right? Which totally makes a lot of sense. Um, you said, touching on what you said there in terms of you have to go through those hard lessons and you have to grit your teeth. Can you talk about some of, like the hardships that you faced over the course of the last 7 years growing Crew Bloom and how you overcame them?
Yes, I think like product was uniquely hard. I think there's a lot of buzz in the ecosystem about product and software like that, because that's obviously like where we're at. But the reality is like as non-technical founders leading technical teams and like the amount of capital it takes to build a product and to like build the right product and a product that's like not feature rich, not feature poor, adding valuable features. You're not overbuilding. You're engaged with your like engineers. It's really, really, really hard. And something like I wish like I could have just like gone to like a master's program only on like effectively like leading technical resources. Um, and so I think like my co-founder and I having to scrap our entire first product was really, really hard. Like I think that was like the first time, I think that was like before COVID, maybe like 6 months before COVID, we just brought in a consultant and we realized like the whole product we built was just needed to be scrapped. And it was really hard. It was like the first time I like took off, I just like headed to the Philippines and just like went to some islands and just dove around for a few weeks and just really like needed to like consider like, do I still want to do this, and like do we have what it takes. And Kate and I just like put our heads together, we like met up and we were like, let's go do this, we got this, we got this. And that was really hard though, because it's just every day you have to get comfortable with wasting money. Like that's just like you're gonna like spend money, but there's something about building a product that becomes emotional. You become deeply invested in that and you buy into the vision that this is going to add value. And me being really accountable and honest, I think at multiple junctures my co-founder was kind of like backpedaling and put brakes on, and I was definitely the one that was like, no, we have to keep going. And so she was right and I was wrong, and it was hard for me to admit in my immature chapters of foundership.
Wow, that's an amazing anecdote. I mean, like how long had you guys been working on that initial product before you realized you had to scrap it? It must have been quite a while, right?
Like 9 or 10 months.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it was really hard. But yeah, like we became stronger for it, and I think, um, yeah, we're better for it.
If you could attribute one thing that allowed you to get over that and allowed you to still believe in the vision and get through that, what would you say that it would be? And if you can't pick one, like maybe just a couple.
Yeah, so I think like my co-founder is just really like my like better half in some capacity. It's like it's weird. Like I haven't met like my perfect life partner, but in some capacity, I think Kate's like really. helped me to understand myself more intrinsically because we like there's just so much on the line in foundership, and you hear so many stories about like companies just not working because of founder dynamics. And so I think like Kate's ability to just remain cool, calm, and collected and remove any emotions from decisions is really something that I needed very frequently. um, and so, yeah, I would just say like her brilliance, her ability to remain neutral, to see things and like take out her heartstrings is like really, really important. Um, I think also there's something to be said about like just get, when you like are working alongside people every day that you really respect and that are brilliant, that's like really, really, really helpful. And then, yeah, like I'm just a lucky person, I guess, like privilege. Like I just am someone that's like kind of wakes up and sees the glass as mainly half full. Like I'm so lucky, like my support system and so many factors. So, yeah, for whatever reason, thing just kind of worked out for us.
So yeah, like touching on some of the amazing achievements that you've had outside of the business realm in terms of physical accomplishments. Um, I remember from our initial conversation, you had mentioned that we were the first diabetic to run a marathon on every continent. I know that you've been putting a lot of focus and energy into other things outside of Crewbloom in itself, and I wanted to ask you where the motivation to do those kind of things came from, and how you committing time and energy to those things translated um, into the business, and how you were able to translate lessons from there and findings from there in order to help you scale. So why don't you talk about that?
Um, so yeah, I think it must be noted that I'm obviously really privileged for me to have like the disposable time and income to just run a marathon in Antarctica. Um, it like can't be like I can't like not say that I'm really privileged and fortunate, but I also think that like I have this conviction that like as much as we like and in foundership or in like tech and the startup ecosystem, we really put a lot of our like internal value. We align our value with work and what we're able to accomplish, but I don't believe that work is like the most important thing. Like, I just believe like human connection and our passions and interests matter most. But that being said, like we all have to pay our bills and we all have to do something. And so why like show up and like not give something your all? And so I just reckon that if I um, like really put my full effort into my work, that I'll just be a better daughter and a better human and um, a better leader. And I reckon it's really important that if my co-founder and I preach work-life balance mattering, we believe like happy people produce the best results. And so if I don't have things to do outside of work that like I have to have a sharp diversion of focus, because like sometimes I would like finish a week. Not anymore, but like really like after COVID when I was working like all the time, it would be like Friday and I would have to like pull myself away from the computer and I would have like a sense of like I'm like depressed. Like I would rather work than like go like be on a Zoom call with my girlfriends or something like that. And that's like not okay. Um and so I think forcing myself to find other things that I'm passionate about. I also coach Special Olympics. I like am the figure skating coach. So I help athletes with like intellectual disabilities in like a volunteer capacity. And I find so much joy in that. Like just like wait, I can do other things aside from like build product or like focus on like revenue metrics because um yeah, it just isn't most important, I reckon. um and so yeah, just like leading by example, having other things to focus my energy on is important. And yeah, I also really like running.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Honestly, it's really admirable. Like you doing all of those things for sure. Was entrepreneurship always something that you saw yourself getting into, even from the early days? Did you always plan on being a founder, or was that like something that kind of just came to you later on down the line?
So I think like really early in my Amazon days, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like I like went to school and took like some entrepreneurial science classes where I had some convictions that I really wanted a lot of freedom in the way that I lived my life. Um, but yeah, when I was at like Amazon, I was like, this is just like not gonna like work. Um, I'm not gonna find like my full like um I guess like meaning or like fulfillment out of life in individual contributorship. And so yeah, I just like had this conviction at Amazon that I was like, I got to get out of here, make as much money as I can to get going on what mattered more.
So, like, again, like looping back again into what you mentioned there about work-life balance, and in terms of you encouraging your team to have such a strong work-life balance. Um, when did that shift happen from spending all this time on work to then actually taking a work-life balance and taking that seriously? And then how do you manage it right now um, from a perspective in terms of, is it like you do 70/30? Is it 50/50? Is it a 90/10? How do you come up with a effective way of managing your work-life balance that still allows you to get more done than any of your competition and still allows you to do the things that you want to do? Because I think that there are so many people that struggle with that. They're either in go mode or they're in slow mode, and they can't really find that good balance. So, have you got any tips for people that are really trying to find that sweet spot that works for them?
Yeah. So I think like discipline, obviously, like entrepreneurs need to find discipline. Like like my ex like couldn't work remotely. It was like bizarre. Like he would just always be like playing chess or something, and I would just be like, wait, this is wild. Like I at no point of time like missed going into the office because like I would just show up, log in, and just work until like they're like I you know. But I think for me, like it's really important to be comfortable with not achieving inbox zero, like just being like I'm stepping away, like these like it has to be like a very strong boundary. Like I have an office, and that's another really like strong boundary that I tried to implement. In my old apartment, I like would work on the couch in like my bed. I would just like take my laptop everywhere, just like as if it were an accessory. And now I have to be like quite boundary. Like I have to shut my laptop and like step away. Um, and I have to hold myself accountable for that. I also like hold myself pretty accountable to my calendar. So like my executive assistant knows that like I'm going to go on a run at 7. And so if I'm like sending emails, although now I do kind of like schedule some emails and like maybe cheat here and there, but um, I think also just like holding yourself accountable with an accountability system is really important. So it's like if it's just you, or like you and your co-founder, you and a really small team, it's going to be easier to like not hold yourself accountable versus if you have like an executive assistant. I have like my personal assistant who all are on board with my goals and like my vision board, and so they all are there to keep me in check because it's I do manage quite a bit. I have a lot going on at any point of time, and it's really important that they can help me make the most of my time and help empower me to be the best version of myself.
Right. I think that that's amazing advice. Yeah. Accountability, making sure that you have an area for work, an area for non-work, I suppose. Like just setting those boundaries, I can completely understand how that helps a lot with getting that balance exactly right. You mentioned there about your goals and about your vision board. What does that look like for you? Like you've already achieved so much. You've done all of this stuff outside of work. You've done the marathon on every continent. You've got this successful business that has grown, and you've been through all the hardships. What does the future look like for you in terms of where you want to achieve and where you want to go?
So I think like and I mean, as in all, like I never want to present as like this like perfect package. Like we're all human and we're all just like waking up and trying to be better each day. And so like my like journey of like kind of like my personal healing journey and just being really conscious and living with a lot of like intention instead of just kind of going through the motions is really important to me now. I think like I'm freezing my eggs, so I hope to be a mom at some point. I hope to find partnership. That's something I just ended a relationship, and so I'm really focused on showing up and being more accountable as like an intimate partner. Because yeah, I think that's something that you sacrifice as an entrepreneur. I think um, in dynamics like you just think of like Mark Zuckerberg and what is he's like a beautiful partner, but like you think about like I always think it's like it should be Mark and oh what is her name? I'm like, oh, she's like the best. But it's always like it really like takes a lot in like the dynamic of your like it takes a lot from like your closest like connections, your relationships. Like the amount of times where like my poor dad has called me and he's like, I'm like, wait, Dad, like I'm on a call, like and he's like busy. What's going on? I got to talk to you about like our trip this weekend or something like that. And I'm like half in, half out, and um, so I think right now in the life stage that I am at, I'm pretty confident in my ability to professionally succeed, and I want to like show up better for my humans and show up better for myself, and just be the best version of myself I could be.
That's amazing, honestly. Yeah, I think that like people get so caught up in what's next from a business perspective. They let their career dictate their entire life until their last moments, and like some people don't realize the importance of of being there for for their humans, like you said there. I think you put it really, really well. Um, so yeah, like no,
One of the One of the things that's like so weird actually. So I'm like my like therapist and I had some reflections on this like a couple weeks ago, like how in life it's like my friends, for example, like my girlfriends like are my chosen sisters, like ride or die no matter what. And I would never value them based off of what they do. You know what I mean? Like it's like who they are as a human, what they value, like their little quirks, how they like we like to kick it and spend our time together. Like that's what matters. But in like leadership, there's this really like conflicting conundrum of like I can't view my team in and like I can only value them based on what they do. I cannot allow myself to like show favoritism or like allow who they are to have any impact on value that they add to my life, but I need to learn to love myself in a pure intermediary instead of loving myself only for my work output, because that's like what's really hard as like a type A personality or someone that's like a high performer is like, if Britta, it's like it's okay if you're having like a slow quarter and you're like diverting some revenue into other stuff, like you're still just as valuable of a human, like you're still good. You don't have to beat yourself up, you don't have to work harder, you don't have to like internally be like a dark cloud. Like, nah, Brianna, like who you are as a human is all that you need to like evaluate yourself on today and tomorrow. And so, yeah, just like something that's like really, really interesting. I found, yeah.
100%. I think like what you said there is the perfect message for the startup founder that's starting off now, for the person that's in the middle of their business and they're going through a hardship like you went through when you had to scrap your product, that regardless of the output, if you know that you are trying and you are working hard and you're giving it your all, that like you said, like your self love can't be attached to a business output. It needs to be attached to your inner meanings and you're actually like your soul, right? So like yeah, like I think that that's a beautiful lesson that everybody in the business space should really internalize, and it will stop everybody being so stressed out, right? So
I like good people, like karma's real. Like just wake up and just like hold yourself accountable, be the best version of yourself, and like you're gonna be good. Like you're gonna like figure it out, you know? Just like be good to yourself like along the way. If I could go back in time 7 years, I'd be like, just try to like not be so like bent out of shape about like all the little fumbles. Like just try to be present and conscious throughout the beauty of like building this thing up, because like that's like the fun of it, you know? Like now like I bought my dream car and like I like take a distribution and such, but if only I could go back to the days where my co-founder and I were like grinding in that co-working space and that cubby like all night long, and like I could just be like, yeah, man, like shout out to us. Look at what we're up to, you know?
yeah, amazing, right? So you need to stop us flowers every now and again, right? So for
Yeah.
sure. So like talking, I know you mentioned there like how you got a really good relationship with your friends. They must have been with you the whole time, right? Whilst you were growing Crew Bloom. How did like your relationship with them and like their support, how did that help you in like the process of building Crew Bloom? Were they there for you like were you always like going to them if something went wrong, and did they like kind of like fill your cup back up? Or was it like very much like just like you and your co-founder tunnel vision and like you guys just helped each other, or did like your external relationships have that effect on you as well?
Yeah, really, really good question. So there's something about like foundership that's extremely isolating and alienating. Um, that's really hard, which is why I like think people need to be like more proactive about like absorbing content on your podcast, because it's like it's really hard because you in the early days you know what you're doing, and so it's like you like fake it till you make it doesn't work to your chosen sisters. Like they know what's up. But they also can't support you. Like they don't know what's going on. Like they can't relate. Like they're going out to like bottomless brunches and flying to Ultra and going to Miami. Like they don't understand like taking the Ultra budget and spending it on a MailChimp subscription. They're like, that's wild, you know? And then you hit a juncture where they're like, wait, now, like then you hit a juncture where it becomes alienating because you are onto something and you believe in something and you're like way more, you can't relate to the fact that like, I hate my job. I'm like online shopping at work. And you're just like, wait, what? It's just very hard. And so I think you have to just be really conscious of whom your friends are, how you can support them, and what you need from them to support you and what they're able to give. I'm also really fortunate that I have a couple chosen sisters that are like professional ride or dies. Like my girl Esther and Jackie, they know like Jackie has her company. Esther is like all of the things combined, and so like I can lean on them for anything. But not everyone. I don't think I would have expected that from everyone. Although like my humans would always like have my back and listen to me, like whatnot. But I think it's a really isolating journey, in particular in the inception, when you yourself don't even have the true conviction. You're just trying to make things work and test things out and and grind and push as hard as you can on something that you have a conviction of. But you can't expect even like your intimate partner to have that conviction or like that faith blindly as you do, which is kind of why you took the risk and are pioneering it.
Yeah, totally, totally. I completely agree in terms of everything that you just said. Did you feel like it was hard to maintain those relationships with everybody, or did you feel like things just kind of worked out and the fact that they could see like what you were building, um, like they just understand that like no, like Brianna's building, she's not gonna come to Bottomless Lunch, she's not gonna come out to Miami, and there wasn't like any resentment build up because of that.
So you lose friends along the way, but I think that's like just like the reality of life. You know, like I think all people like over time, you also have to become greedier with your time, because it's like as you get older, you realize how valuable your time is, and you want to like put more eggs in fewer baskets, so to speak. But like I'm still friends. Like I went to high school in a really small town in central Wisconsin, and like I'm still so close with like my girls from high school and like my college gal pals and all of these iterations, because there's nothing that replaces formative year bonds. Like you knew me when I was in seventh grade, like forget about it, like forever, no matter what. I think though that I had to adjust my expectation that people would relate or be able to support me, because that's not fair to put on them. They like love the Brianna that they know, and I'm sure if I needed them to like resonate with how shitty it was paying for MailChimp, they would have, but they were just like, yo, I want to go to Ultra and party. Like, meet up with us if you can. And so they were living their best life. There was there's never any ill intention, which is why you're my chosen sister, because I know the fiber of your DNA. You don't mean to not support me, but you're there for me if I need, but I'm going to go work and you're going to go have fun, and we'll catch up when we can. And we did. And a few didn't, of course. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, 100%. I think that good relationships, a job that you love, and then all the other things like that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So yeah, really happy to hear that you've got these people around you, and I think that it's an amazing thing, honestly.
Yeah. One of the things, like, it's like kind of speaking on relationships. Maybe I should kind of bring this up earlier, but one of the things I did really wrong early on is got really close and kind of blurred the line with my early team, like my leadership team, like becoming like the godmother of their children and like blurring lines of like, because you're building and grinding and you become so close, it's like you love them, or I like loved them and I like expected them to deliver like my co-founder as a stakeholder or like my chosen family. But they weren't that invested. And when a few of them left, it was really hard on me. It was like a pure heartbreak, but in this much more complex way than it was just like if my ex cheated on me, because it was like I cared so much about the business and they broke my heart with the business and it was really hard for me. And so I think like now being really boundaried where it's like although I love my team, I can't say that. I can't reiterate that. Like there has to be professional boundaries. And I have to look to my external resources to be my friends and support system rather than looking internally.
That's an amazing lesson, 100%. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in terms of looking back at it, obviously in hindsight now, what would you do different? If you would you do anything different? And if you would, what would you do different? Taking into account like the last 7 years of everything.
Yeah, like I think we'd all like go back and do things differently, but I'm just really lucky every day. Like I'm really proud of where we're at. I think probably I would have tried to understand technology better and I wouldn't have like invested so much cash in that product, but I mean, here we are. Um, I probably would have tried to be scale minded earlier. Like, I think we just wasted a lot of time and my team's time, which is like even more costly because, like, we didn't think about getting as big as we got. And so we just didn't um, uh, have the confidence that we should have had to say, like, okay, we can't just do things. We have to do things that are intentional, that have workflows and processes, and that if someone were to step in tomorrow and you would be away, they'd know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, like that's one of the things I have here, which is your recommendation of automating business processes, the advocacy for crystal clear plans and the ideation phase in terms of where you want to get to. Um, one of the things you put here was advising against collecting unnecessary data, so focusing on data that generates revenue. Can you touch on that a little bit? I feel like I struck a nerve.
I like cannot believe how many okay, so this is just like a conviction, and again, like this is controversial. I don't like I love humans. I'm like a people person, but the amount of time, like I think humans on Earth just do things to do things because they don't like want to not do something. But it's like team. If you're sending a report that nobody reads, it doesn't add any value. Go watch Netflix, scroll through Instagram, go to church, sing a song, dance, log off. Don't do things to just do something. Like you have to do things that you know are going to get us to where we're going. And I didn't really hold myself accountable for that until we had wasted a ton of money. But now, like every single metric, every single like myopic things I like obsess over. So, like things like, why do we have this field on HubSpot? Is the field on HubSpot, the title of the field on HubSpot is 3 words. Could we make that one and it's still be adding the same value? It's like every bit of time matters and we're paying people to show up each day and get us to where we're going. So we have to value their time and believe that they're brilliant. And if put in a system and if we lay a foundation that makes sense, they'll be radically successful. And um, I also want them to be the happiest humans because we
Right.
believe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. That makes sense, so much sense. So interesting about like going into like I guess like when you go like that micro with the optimizations, like those are the things that stack on each other, and then that's where you get that compounding effect and efficiency, right? So
Yeah, like don't send in the internal email guys wishing us a great day. Like don't put like just w- guys, come on. Like I know everybody here wants us all to have great days every day. Just like don't waste our time. Like we have to hold ourselves accountable. And the outsourced environment is hyper susceptible to over professionalizing everything.
right.
And so like there's like this belief that like just we send the report because we've sent the report for a year, and so how we can't not send the report. But I'm like, nah, it's Friday, it's 4:15. Nobody's looked at this report in a quarter at least. Log off and go live your life. We're not sending the report anymore, and that's a stark like ideology to get on board with. But I think it's been most profitable for us, and it would be profitable if other organizations adopted it.
I think so as well. And honestly, I really do think so as well. And I think that like so many businesses would get there'd be friction in them like saying like, oh, like don't do something which like I guess is like personality positive to a certain degree. But like
Mm,
it's all like it's all like about like moving the needle towards everything because that's what's going to get everybody towards the goal that they want to get to personally from a business perspective. So yeah, it makes total sense. Um, you guys when you guys recruit the top tier talent in these remote places, right? So I think like I saw on your website that it was 2 out of every 100 applicants end up actually passing through. That's correct, right? How did you develop such a robust hiring system, and how did you get it to be so good? And talk to me about that, about like that process that you go through in order to filter out everybody, the normal performers from the high performers. What does that look like?
yeah. So I think like today we try to implement as much automation in candidate scoring as possible. The idea, the goal is for us to have we reject 70% of folks without ever touching them. So they just come through, they do an assessment. Predominantly, we're looking at um, language neutrality scoring, how neutral their accent is. It really matters to us. The majority of our accounts are requiring English as their main language of choice. And so it is advantageous for us as a company to be able to reject candidates with automation. But we need to look at things such as home work environments. Do they have a quiet remote workspace? They're predominantly going to be working graveyard shift through the night. So do they have like the equipment that's required? Do they have like primary devices, backup devices, primary power sources, primary internet, backup power and internet? Um, and then there's like a massive soft skill element to it as well. We need to find folks that not only present and carry themselves well, folks that are accustomed to Western culture. We've like seen it all, right? Because we pay more than our competition, and so it's really important for us to be invested in folks and empower them to get a job that they love. And so if we present candidates that are marginal or average, it's not going to suit well for anyone. But we also try to invest in folks. Like if someone's near where they need to be, we'll coach them and give them feedback and hope that they can make the cut in the near future. But I think it's a mix of the hard skills, just what experience did you have, what notable promotions have you accomplished, what accounts were you assigned previously, if you've worked at Google or worked on Amazon, or call like the telecom space is really aggressive and hard. Folks like Verizon and AT&T, these are really challenging, aggressive accounts. So what have you accomplished professionally? What tools are you familiar with? How well can you pass the assessment? But then do you have the equipment needed? And then are you the kind of person that we just want to work alongside?
Awesome. Yeah, super extensive. So many things there that I'm sure like so many people wouldn't have thought of, such as primary and backup power and things like that, like that you have to take into consideration. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think that it is that you can attribute the growth in sales and the growth in like your customer base to obviously like the product and the service being impeccable and industry leading? Oh. And then was it also like sales and marketing? Did you have a lot of marketing activity going on in the early days? What about now, like in terms of like the growth of the customer base? Is it mostly through referral, word of mouth? Like what does that look like?
Yeah. So I think there's like across the board, you just have to do good business. You have to like do right by your customers, um, and you have to act with integrity and live by your company values, like what matters to you. Because the vision, the goal is that your team is going to act in the way that me and my co-founder, or like that the stakeholders would, and that like empowers scale and empowers a culture that we want to buy into. Um, but I think a number of things just kind of worked for us. We implemented automation at kind of at an ideal time. We started doing some like email automation stuff and like warming some aliases and doing some really kind of like scrappy, robust stuff on the technical marketing side. Um, and yeah, like we just started, we really segregated the sales team and started doing some data crawling and data automation. So we automate all of like the generation of leads. We integrate with some tools that help massage down that data. And so we clean data really effectively, and are trying to clean data and mine data and harvest data better each day. Um, and trying our best. Of course, we're all just trying to do better business each day, but trying to be really, really clear on our value and what we're trying to accomplish. And then just finding the best folks. I mean, because my co-founder is so brilliant and she oversees such a, a robust sourcing and recruiting team, we really have a competitive advantage to have not only really great contractors in the field working for our clients, but also to grab the best and brightest for ourselves.
Amazing. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. You said there about data itself. I remember when we spoke previously, you said you stressed the importance of quickly getting useful data to the sales team. Um, and then you also spoke about how you believe that businesses are living creatures and must adapt. So one method may not work for everyone. Can you talk on that a little bit and elaborate on that?
Yeah. So we bootstrapped. So a lot of companies put a lot in like ads, targeted like keywords, and they put a lot in like Google ads. And we like had invested tens of thousands of dollars in ads, and for us it just didn't work. It wasn't effective. We are better. We do better with Facebook ads in the candidate markets. So we're looking at ad spends and really segregating these investments in a market like South Africa and like even like Johannesburg. We're talking like pennies on the dollar compared to what placing an ad in, let's say, Topeka, Kansas is, right? And so because of that, we are more bullish on ads and diverting marketing in a more traditional sense in the candidate markets. But for us, it's just we didn't want to be married to these ideas that got other companies where they were. We wanted to really be adaptable and not uh, take personal when campaigns would just fall completely flat. Um, and because when you bootstrap, you are more intimately involved with the cash flow. And so for us, we just really were scrappy and really kept throwing stuff at the wall. And I think marketing or technical email marketing automation was really helpful for us. It helped generate a lot of leads, and then data harvesting and data mining for the sales team as well. And so coupling those together was kind of the secret sauce that got us to where we are today, and will help get us to where we need to be for our exit.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Um, you mentioned there an exit. How do you, as a business now that have been running for 7 years, you want to I'm like you put like your heart and soul into this for so long. How do you then transition it from it being you and your co-founder's baby to a certain degree to then preparing it to sell? And how does that transition look like from a operations perspective and then also a mindset perspective?
So I think like for my co-founder and I, like preparing to exit's always kind of been in the cards. We've always kind of known that's what we want to do. Um, and so from an operational perspective today, we're really obsessed with like our tech stack, making sure that things are secure, making sure that all of our data is really well protected, but then also understanding what it takes to be attractive to a strategic buyer. Like just, I mean, like that like looks different. You have to do things at scale. You have to step into the shoes of what a buyer would want to acquire, and what they could believe in, and what their goals and aspirations would be. And so you just think of things in a more fine tuned way, which kind of sucks because like nobody ever wants to start a startup and then groom it to be like a Fortune 500. But that's what you have to think about. And then spiritually, I mean, I think it's been kind of like a slow process. You kind of come to terms with the fact that like this is what my co-founder wants, and therefore like this is going to be what's best for us. And so um, I'm prepared. I'm ready to step away. Of course, we would want an aligned buyer. We would retain some stake and maybe sit on the board or something like that. We're deeply invested in the business and will forever be. But I think we want to spend some more time on our AI product.
Oh yeah. like amazing segue into talking about Betty. So why don't you speak a little bit about like this new product that you're launching, and like let the listeners know what's next.
Yeah, so Betty is the new AI stealth language we're building out. And I think Betty, it's tough because Betty is supporting Shopify stores and really just I guess, replacing humans in an automated capacity. But we believe strongly that our space is going to look different in the coming years and AI will have a strong impact. And so, Shopify store owners, of course, these are small business owners in the e commerce space. My non compete with e commerce is free. It's not. I'm stepping away from Amazon. And so, it just kind of the timing of it, I think, makes a lot of sense. And Kate and I are really excited about a pure SaaS play today. We have a CTO and a team in place building out Betty today. And so we spend about 30% of our time on Betty and about 70% on Crewbloom. And we're really excited to just go full throttle on Betty in the coming months.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think that that's going to be a super cool solution. And like obviously like transitioning all the lessons that you've learned from Crew Bloom now into Betty. What kind of things have you done differently when like coming up with the inception of Betty, having those that trial by fire by building Crew Bloom? What changed?
Yeah. So technical, like stakeholder is critical. So just like finding a CTO, someone that's highly technical that has skin in the game, it's like so important. And we like really held out. Like we found the best of the best. Our team is so good, and we're really selective. Like our engineers were like ruthless, but we know how to work with engineers now. We know how to motivate them and inspire them and communicate with them, and we can speak their language way better than with Crewbloom. And Crewbloom's product, Crew Hub, is still strong, and we've strengthened that to prepare for the acquisition. But I think like just the pure SaaS play is just so exciting for us. Just like having a subscription instead of really like our invoicing is all over the place. Like with Crewbloom, it's and you're looking at human capital, like people scattered throughout how many countries. It's like the day to day headache of it all. It's like it's not a headache. Whoever buys the business is going to be super lucky and like, but it's just it's like it's a lot, you know. I think Kate needs a vacation. She needs to just like read a book once a week, and like that's gonna get us there. So
Amazing. Amazing. Well, like Brianna, I've had an amazing time. It's been an amazing conversation. Is there anything else that you want to talk over? Any closing points that you want to wrap up everything with? And like maybe like a couple of keynotes that you can leave all of our listeners with that they can take along onto the next episode.
yeah. Well, yeah. Just thanks like so much for having me. Like such good vibes, like the best. And like just shout out like to anyone that's like listening. Just like even like just like taking this step, like just investing in yourself, like believe in yourself. Try to like be present throughout the process of like building up like um your vision because time and our lives are fleeting and just like be gentle to yourself, be good to yourself, just try to value yourself for who you are, not what you do and your revenue. And then yeah, anyone can like like give me a shout out on LinkedIn, just like Brianna Carney or like um yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Cool. Cool. So that's it for this episode, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you at the next one.